Excellent. So thank you, everyone, and welcome to our second Wellness Sector Spotlight for 2021. The sector we're highlighting this week is Wellness, Real Estate, and Communities. And our discussion topic, to start with, is the best business move I made in 2020. I'm Susie Ellis, and I'm Chair and CEO of the Global Wellness Summit and the nonprofit Global Wellness Institute. And I'll be your host today. I want to thank, you can see they're sponsored by Serenbe. I want to thank our sponsor, Serenbe, for this Wellness Sector Spotlight. And there's a view of Serenbe, and I was there after our Global Wellness Summit, and those photos are exactly what you find. Just a beautiful, beautiful life there. It's outside of Atlanta. And Steve Nygren is with us. We'll be hearing from him a little bit later today, but I wanted to let you know that this year we've opened up both the sector spotlights, which are on Tuesday, and the Wednesday masterclasses for sponsorships, so that you'll be able to continue to have these Zoom calls open to anyone and everyone for free around the world. It also gives us a chance to shine the spotlight on some quality companies who share our values and our Global Wellness Summit mission of joining together, shaping the future. So I want to mention that on the call are a few others from our team. I mentioned, or Nancy mentioned Michelle, and you've met Wendy and Nancy. And I did want to ask Nancy Davis, who is our Chief Creative Officer and Executive Director of both the GWS and GWI, to say a word of welcome. Nancy?
Welcome. I wish I knew how to say it in all of the languages represented on this call. But I just want to say, how thrilled we are to have all of you with us. And I can't think of a better conversation to be having, since we are all spending an awful lot of time in wellness, real estate, and communities these days. And it's an area that just really has tremendous growth and opportunity. So I'm very excited to hear what everyone has to say. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. And Nancy's also going to be watching the chat and bringing to my attention any questions or comments that she feels that we should share with the group. So to start with, I'm going to ask Wendy to just give us a very quick overview on Zoom and how we do this. And over to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Susie. Hello, and thank you for being a part of this wonderful event. I have muted everyone because with a group of this size, it is necessary to eliminate any background noise in order to hear our special guests. When you wish to contribute your thoughts, please unmute by clicking on the microphone icon at the bottom left of your Zoom window. If you want to see the global mosaic of people on this call, bring your cursor to the top right of your Zoom window and choose the gallery view. If you want the person speaking to fill your screen, choose the speaker view. If you want to see many of your colleagues and friends, use the blue arrow on the right of your Zoom window to scroll through the pages of the participants. We encourage you to post a question or comment throughout the call, and Zoom offers a chat function for that. If you move your cursor to the bottom center of the Zoom window, you will see a chat button. And when you click that, it will open a window to the right of your main Zoom window, allowing you to post a question or comment. We will be continually reviewing this throughout the call and try to get to many of your questions. You may also be called on to ask your question, and then you will unmute. Zoom also put the share screen button in bright green right next to the chat button, and we will ask you to do not hit the share screen button. At some point during this call, you will be placed into a breakout room with some of your colleagues. Zoom randomly puts people in breakout rooms, and there is nothing you have to do to be placed into the room. Information will appear on your screen, letting you know that you are being placed into the room, breakout, and towards the end, you will rejoin the full group. Once in the room, please be sure you are unmuted, bottom left on your Zoom window, and introduce yourselves. This is an opportunity for you to meet some of your fellow participants and to share in a more intimate setting your thoughts about the topic. The topic of today is the best business move I've made in 2020. Thank you so much for your cooperation and being part of the call today. Now back to you, Susie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wendy. Beatrice is usually with us at this time, but Beatrice is not available today. So Wendy has stepped in, and so thank you for that, Wendy. So let's begin. The Wellness, Real Estate, and Community Sector Spotlight. Nancy, would you show the GWI Wellness Economy bubble chart, please? Perhaps you're already familiar with this slide. You'll see it in a second. As it shows in a very informative graphic, a lot of you have seen this before, what the global wellness economy looks like. This is the compilation of figures showing the global wellness economy at approximately 4.5 trillion. However, most of you think you've seen this slide, but you may not have seen this slide because there is a new bubble. And I don't know if you've seen that, but at the top of this, there's a new bubble for mental wellness. And that was just recently added when we were at our summit in Palm Beach. And you can see that the new mental wellness sector has been estimated at 121 billion. It actually doesn't change the big overall number, but it is an important sector. You'll see that each of the bubbles represents a sector of the global wellness economy, and the size of the circles give an indication of the size of the sector. So you'll see beauty, anti-aging is quite large, as is physical activity, healthy eating, and nutrition. And then there's some smaller bubbles like workplace wellness, thermal mineral springs, and the sector that we're speaking about today, which is wellness real estate. You can see that the wellness real estate sector was valued at 134 billion, and that is a figure from the GWI 2018 Wellness Economy Monitor. You'll be happy to know, all of you who are part of our tribe, that the GWI research for 2021 will be an updating of all of the bubble chart figures. The new monitor is going to be called Global Wellness Economy Looking Beyond COVID. And that research will be shared at the upcoming Global Wellness Summit in Tel Aviv, November 15th. So the researchers are already busy working on that. Next slide, and this is the last slide. I just want to show you or remind some of you, this is the cover of the 2018 GWI research report, Build Well to Live Well, Wellness, Lifestyle, Real Estate, and Communities. I think most of you who are into this sector have maybe come across this. It is available for free on the Global Wellness Institute website, and it has really valuable information. It was the first research to size and analyze the global and regional wellness, lifestyle, real estate, and communities market. It's a 150-page report, and it it does define the real estate and communities sector, and talks about that intentionally. These are communities that intentionally put people's health at the center of design, creation, and development, and that this is the next frontier in residential real estate. Just a few numbers, the researchers found that the global market was growing fast from 134 to 180 billion from 2017 to 2022. And the projected growth was 6% a year during that time. And at that time, and I know this is all pre-COVID, consumer demand for healthy homes was outstripping supply. And at that time, US was by far the largest market. It was followed by China, Australia, and the UK. And there were, and are listed in the report, a pipeline of 740 projects. And of course, that was growing every month. What will be interesting to see, and maybe we can even get a sense of it on this call, is whether or not, because of COVID, this is accelerating or not. So thank you, Nancy, for those slides. In the past year after the pandemic, we started these calls, and we did have some real estate and communities, wellness, real estate and communities call. We've had Steve Nygren from outside of Atlanta, Rancho La Puerta Residences in Mexico, Martin Venter from Vadavi in South Africa, Reach in Florida, like Nona in Florida. And today we have a few additionally new people that are part of the sector. And before we start, I just want to say that, COVID has affected everyone and in a lot of ways, very negatively from a bottom line point of view. But we thought that a good way to start out the new year is to ask people what are their best moves they made in 2020 so that we can perhaps learn from that or be a little bit inspired. And I was happy to hear and see a lot of you who emailed me had some very good things to share. So I'm going to start off by asking Jim Makula. Jim is with Cable S Corporation in Fredericksburg, Texas. And Jim, you shared actually a few things with me that I thought would be interesting for the group. So Jim, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's finally raining in Texas.
Yes, that's a good thing in Texas, isn't it?
That's good news, yeah. So I just had three quick, what we felt were good decisions. One was that when we were forced to close our 2 resorts in New Mexico, it required us to reflect back on our mission and our values and our mission. And this led us to rebranding our property in Santa Fe. It was called Sunrise Springs. And we decided to use our flagship name, OHO, and renamed it OHO Santa Fe, and refocused back on Salud por Agua, health through water. And our business significantly jumped when we reopened in July and continues to grow. Here in Texas, we decided not to open our resort and lose any momentum that we would have gained and then close because of the pandemic. And so we're taking this opportunity to expand our phase 1 operations, looking forward to opening up later this year. And I think the most important decision we made was we kept our management team together. It was an expensive decision, but we felt that it was the loyalty of those managers and their talent. We needed to hang on to that. And the unintended positive consequence was the innovation that came out from those managers and leaders that are being put into our business models going forward, including adding more wellness practices into our resorts.
Thank you, Jim. I have heard that from quite a few people. I remember, Nancy, you remember when we were at the Breakers, the president was mentioning that that is the one thing, even though they had to let some people go or furlough, they did not do that with their management team because they realized they had invested so much in their management over the years that would be very valuable when they were able to get back into business. And that, in fact, is what happened. So it sounds like it's the same thing. Jim, just a quick question. You mentioned about the rebranding and that when you opened, things were so positive. Do you think the rebranding had a lot to do with that, or was it timing in another way?
Well, I think it was a combination of the two of them. Well, I would say there was 3 components to it. One was the brand name OHO on the website. If you put in hot springs, mineral springs in the Southwest, OHO always comes out number 1. So that was number 1. Yes, number 2 was a timing, but number 3 was that it's primarily a drive-in market. So it's not serviced by airlines, although Albuquerque is close by, but that drive-in market from Colorado and Texas really supported Santa Fe.
Very good. Interesting. That's a very important part about people finding you on the website with a new name. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much, Jim. The next person we'd like to hear from is Ingo. Ingo is in Bangkok. Excuse me. Ingo is CEO of GoCo Hospitality. And so Ingo, over to you. You had some things to share that I thought also would be very interesting. Ingo?
Yeah, we did a few things. Some are similar than what you did, Jim. From a humanitarian rather than the business side, we continued the health insurance for our American employees at Glen Ivy. We felt that was very important because we knew that in the moment they get furloughed, there's no health insurance anymore. And therefore, we extended the health insurance, which we felt was the right move. The other move, which was similar aimed, was our team in Bangkok. And like Jim, there was the question, furlough, no furlough. There was a bit of less work for approximately 2 or 3 months. And what we did there, we offered our team members a 4-day work week. Now, what was interesting in this, even though we offered it, there was a couple of eager people who wanted to excel. They still came on the first day and wanted to work something else and, you know, learn something more and things like that. But, you know, in principle, we simply said, listen, there's less work, take more time off and take it easy. From a business perspective, and we're talking about business here, what really worked well for us, because we have a very strong consultancy arm, we have around 35 consultants in the team. We took instead of fees, we took for larger wellness communities, which we helped creating. We took sweat equity. We say, we understand that your business right now cannot afford huge development costs. You want to be part of it. You want to move into the business. So when it opens, we anticipate a huge growth around the globe in 2022, 2023 onwards. Therefore, we took sweat equity up to 25%. And now we are the lucky co-owners of a project together with the Norwegian Sovereign Fund in Norway, in Canada with some individuals north of Vancouver, here in Thailand, and hopefully soon, I hope this will sign this week in France. So taking not hard dollars, give good work, be part of it, be responsible, and make out of a bad situation a good situation. That worked very well for us, because I had not imagined that during the pandemic, we can end up with substantial ownership portions in 4 different projects around the globe.
Well, Ingo, that is very fascinating and very creative, as you definitely are. Tell us, because I know you work all over the world, and we're talking about wellness, real estate, and communities. What are you seeing? You're pretty bullish on that sector, would you say? What are you seeing globally?
Well, I mean, we're doing spa consultant, wellness consultant in the large wellness communities. And reality is, normally we do around 25 spas for, you know, the Four Seasons and the Ritz-Carltons and the addresses and things like that. That actually immediately turned down that business, because it was very obvious that the big hotel companies stopped developing, or not stopped developing, developed less fast and made less ambitious decisions. But the wellness community work, literally 2, 3, 4 months into it, so I'm talking about August, September, took off, and suddenly several projects which we were in touch with 1, 2, 3 years with feasibilities and master plans which we had created, suddenly all came back, and we had, you know, the choice. Like in last year, it's a year ago now, in Phuket we had choices of 3 different projects, or, you know, so there is so much in the pipeline there. Now, the problem, Susie, will be there's a lot of well washing out there. There's people who want to use the wellness angle in order to present something which is, quite frankly, less meaningful and less comprehensive. And I just had somebody today there that said, oh, we are actually finished with our design already. We have 92 pool villas, and now we want to put some wellness inside there. And I said, well, can you show me the master plan? And you know, the wellness was at the entrance somewhere. So not like in a wellness community at the center, and having the right circulation spaces and things like that. And that is very heavy. So there's a lot of projects which are jumping on this wagon, but don't have the true know-how and the wisdom to really do the right thing. But then, having said so, there's many people who really, through the pandemic, I don't think it becomes only a more accessible business. There's also many more people who are thinking out of the box and saying, we need wellness communities. Another thing which supports that is, we could see in all the Asian resorts, large-scale villas, pool villas, 2, 3, 4 family member villas, they are sold out constantly. You have sometimes problems on the weekend here in Thailand to get yourself a nice, large private villa, which normally was never a problem. Now they don't go into hotel rooms, they book with their friends and family 2, 3, 4 bedroom houses, you know, which are serviced and have all the amenities. So there is certainly a shift taking place, and we see that everywhere. There's no exception to that.
So Ingo, would you say when our researchers from the Global Wellness Institute redo the bubble chart, do you think that the real estate numbers will go up?
substantially. Actually, I know so. I mean, I can see it just in our business, and because it's in various parts of the world, we can clearly see that it is booming, it's growing, it's maturing. Having said so, Susie, the sad thing truly is that there's also quite a few projects which are actually, they're selling houses, and they tack on a bit of a clubhouse with a bit of, spa and wellness services, and then they call it a wellness resort. And there one has to be very, very careful. I read the other day, there was a certain brand, and they say, we have a destination spa. We have an 1,800 square meter destination spa in a development which has 400 houses. Yeah, I mean, if they all arrive one day, the spa is not even good enough for a morning. I mean, so that's all. One has to be careful there. But
Ingo, you bring up a good point. And before we go to Amy McDonald next, I want to make this point with all of us on the call, because we have 190 people or so. We have to be the guardians of making sure that there isn't this well washing happening in communities, because it will not be good for any of us if there is some community down the street calling themselves a wellness community, and they're not really into wellness. They're not thoughtful about the buildings and the air and the green and all of the things that those of us, and I should say me, we're still figuring this out, but we have to be serious about this and really deliver so that people who are living in these communities are in fact healthier. And I think it's something we all have to pay attention to and be diligent about. This is the time to do that. So, let's help each other with that. And so I think it's a good point, Ingo. Thank you for bringing that up.
Allow me to add one more thing, which is also positive. I mean, the casino business around the world is it's a very high traffic business. It generates a lot of revenues. We are doing one very prominent casino in Singapore, and they are, instead of doing one, they're going to do 2 spas, which are much more cutting edge technology, wellness centric than they were ever before, when they were more pampering centric. So there's also very positives in there, that a casino company which normally does not, it's the smallest amenity they have, the spa, right? But they're really going out there in this project, and we're going to create 2 entire spa spaces on various floors throughout the entire building to create wellness, measurable wellness, analysis and diagnostic in a casino environment. So that's a good one as well. They become serious there.
Yes, I think that is a good point. And we are seeing more of the medical and the wellness coming together. And I think that's encouraging. And, I think that what I feel is that people who are developing, or anybody, they think they can do wellness, they run or they, eat healthy or whatever. But this is where I feel we have to, wave the flag and say, you might know real estate, but we know wellness. And that is a difference, just not you do real estate and, you'll add a little wellness, because that really won't work. So thank you, Ingo. Amy,
may I just ask a question, because it's specific to Ingo, and people I think are very excited to hear the sort of bullish nature of your feeling about the community. But there's a question about whether what age groups, where does the growth, where do you see the growth in this sector?
Very good question, Nancy. Historically, it was actually at the slightly older people, let's call it 45 up, 50, 55 up, right? I see this changing as well. And I see this because I looked at a couple of developments last weekend, actually, here in Thailand, in one particular resort town. And the interest there was some quite a few mid-30s, early 40s who bought into them. So I can see that there is a market demand in a guest age bracket, which before was not very prominent. But then me and my wife driving to a couple of them, we suddenly saw that they are prospering with an age group which was before not as dominant and prominent.
Thank you so much. And it was not my great question. It was Leon Evangelos. So thank you so much, everyone.
Sure.
Thank you, Nancy. That's a very good question. So Amy McDonald, are you here on the call? Where is
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Hello, Amy. So
Hello,
Amy
Susie.
is going, let me just introduce you very quickly. I want to get this right. You are the owner and CEO of Under a Tree Health and Wellness Consulting, and you're in Tucson. And so, Amy, tell us your perspective, because you're doing a little bit like what Ingo does, consulting in a variety of areas. So
Yep.
tell us what's been your experience for 2020 and this year.
Yeah, I thought your question was actually really interesting because I hadn't thought really about what we had done. But really early in 2020, although we were seeing the shift happening probably the 2 years before that, we fairly quickly, certainly by March, started reaching out to our former real estate companies that we had been working with, and also reached out to ones that we may not have worked with before, but wanted to. And part of what we did was we really focused on the U.S. market. It felt like it was probably the greatest opportunity, and since we're obviously based in the U.S. And so 85% of all of our clients, and certainly our revenue as consultants last year, really came from real estate companies. But the piece that was so interesting and different was, typically these real estate development companies are also owners, right? They typically really rely on the brands that they're working with to really drive wellness. And so what has been different all this year and continues now is that they were really hiring external consultants to be the liaison, to be the bridge, to work with the brands, the hotel companies, but really driving and much more hands-on than they've ever been before. So the majority of our meetings, whether it's been with Hilton or whether it's been with Marriott and other larger brands, has really been that we're representing wellness for the owners and real estate companies to the brands, and really asking the brands to expand more, to think out of the box, and to collaborate even more. And so that has been a really big shift. Especially for consultants, right? To kind of sit in the middle and have that opportunity. So that's been the first piece. And to see the level and commitment of investment that they're willing to make in their projects for wellness in many different areas has been really quite extraordinary. And then the second part of our business, the other 15% of our business last year and continuing, was we were doing a lot of business advising for product companies, predominantly tech companies that are offering wellness. And so we did a lot of work early in the year to help them pivot more into obviously direct to consumer and home use. But in doing that, it allowed their companies, their products, to be able to be more diverse. And when I mean that, I mean more diverse in that they're able to actually move their tech wellness into residential. And so for the first time, I was able to introduce kind of the 15% of my handful of, restorative sleep and immune system type of companies into and introduce them to the real estate companies. And so, they've all sort of come together to work together because it's a perfect match, right? These tech companies that offer wellness are able to go into a residential component. They're able to drive a spa. They're able to drive a lot of things. So it's just been interesting and a win-win for us, and meaningful to be able to introduce our clients to each other so that there's a win-win and we all benefit from it. So that's sort of a quick overview of some of our best practices from last year.
Thank you, Amy. And I know when you wrote to me, what caught my attention is that you said that you had your best year ever last year.
Well, Susie, I have to tell you that it is uncomfortable to share that when so many people in our industry in lots of different sectors have been so decimated. And so, but yes, we've been busier than ever. Yes, correct.
Well, I appreciate that you sharing that. And I always do encourage people to share some numbers because it helps us. It's not a prideful thing. I mean, we congratulate you for that. But in this call, especially where we're talking about this sector, it's very helpful to know the vibrancy of what's out there. I'm going to ask you the same question that Nancy asked Ingo. Are you seeing a difference in ages, and what kinds of amenities might be different for a younger population, if in fact you're seeing that.
Yes, we're definitely seeing it. And I was pleased that you asked the question to Ingo. I think the biggest difference that we're seeing is family. Our project in Thailand, which was already really, a concept towards family intergenerational before COVID. But that's what we're seeing is that it's younger. Like I think about Lake Nona and what we're seeing, right? When I looked at Lake Nona and spoke with Gloria there to realize that that is a very vibrant, young, right? Those are 30 and 40-year-old business people that are raising their families in those types of communities, right? And that is what we're seeing. And whether it's a residential community or whether it's sort of long-term rental, it's definitely going younger. And we're definitely seeing more of a focus on teens. And it would make sense when you think about it, right? I think families now more than ever understand that wellness needs to really be completely a thread through a family unit, no matter how young their children are, but teens in particular. So that's been a lot of our focus. It's been a stretch for us to really look at relevant, meaningful, programming and services that can be offered to teens. Yeah.
Can you share any of those with us? Like what are teens responding to if they're living in a wellness arena, community, or real estate?
Well, I think the most interesting piece is that, obviously, especially with 2020, there's been a surge in gaming, more so than ever. And so what we're seeing is embracing that, right? And allowing there to be opportunity to do that. And not all gaming, is sort of got a negative rap, right? So really focusing on what types of gaming could potentially promote wellness, and really approaching wellness with, we all want to be better, right? We all want to improve our performance, whether we're, CEOs or whether we're older and we just want to be able to be more active, but teens want that too. So really approaching them with, you want to study better, faster, retain better, but also really to hit them where a lot of them are, which is really, how can you perform better in whatever you want to do? And that seems to really resonate with them also.
Great, thank you, Amy. And later we're going to hear from someone that will maybe talk about a triathlon that happened in their community, which I thought was very interesting. I want to go to Helen Foster next. Helen, where are you? And Helen, I believe, is in New Orleans. She is the principal of Foster Strategy. And you have an interesting company, and you've been in real estate for a long time. And so, Helen, tell us a little bit about maybe one of the better business decisions you made last year. And because I don't think everyone knows you, maybe tell us a little bit about who you are.
All right. So I started in real estate and marketing in 1995, and actually started working on the service enriched side of the business in 55 plus communities. So did a lot of work in the service enriched side that transitioned into working in active adult development, which ultimately transitioned into working in intergenerational community development. So one of my largest and longest standing clients, Rancho Mission Viejo, and Terry Slavic-Sayuki is a team member of mine. She's also in the call. So we started working on doing a deep dive into studying wellness. And it was a very meaningful exercise. We actually have a large team that we call the Creative Collective over at Rancho Mission Viejo. That's a multidisciplinary team. And so we started looking at wellness from many different angles. And our architecture land development partner is also in those calls, as well as a number of people on the development team there. So that exploration led us to discover a lot of things about wellness. One is that information exists in a lot of disparate places. And so we've been working on trying to organize that and trying to collect and gather as many best practice ideas as we can, so we can interpret those in our own work practice there at Rancho Mission Viejo and put as many things into play as we can. And it's been a fantastic project. One of the things I was telling Susie is that Rancho Mission Viejo is a legacy development, and they are very excited for us to take everything that we know and learn there and propagate that out for the benefit of other organizations. So we are excited to have a chance to do that. So, and one of the greatest things that I did this year was I attended the GWI Summit. So Rancho Mission Viejo had encouraged me to go. And so I did that. And, you know, there were many times sitting in those sessions that I felt like my career was changing. And so having worked in this space for a long time, especially on the service and rich side, I actually feel like the bubble, if you will, for wellness real estate could be very large because there are a number of organizations already doing that. So I think it's taking what we can codify as being who is in that space already and really even expand it. So super exciting. The trip to Serenbe was absolutely fabulous, very much behind the scenes, really enjoyed that. So I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, Helen was at the Global Wellness Summit. Yeah, one of the people that braved, you know, all the things that hurdles along the way, and you know, joined us in Palm Beach, which was fantastic. And then went with us. There were about, I think, 16 of us all together that ended up at Serenbe, which is a good time to ask Steve Nygren to tell us how things are going at Serenbe. You hosted us, a group of us from the summit, and the spirit of your hosting us, and this is what Helen, I think, is talking about too, is that, you know, you just opened everything up to us and we learned so much. So Steve, tell us what are some of the things that you did in 2020 that worked out well?
Thank you, Susie. And you know, it was great to be with you in Palm Beach, and then the group at Serenbe. So that was great fun. I think your bubble is much larger, or the new research is really going to show, because the interest in wellness real estate, and maybe people aren't labeling it as such, but you know, every story you hear about people returning to where they grew up and then deciding to stay, it's all about quality of life, which is really wellness. We have, of course, we can't build houses fast enough. And it's some of our second home owners have transitioned, and we had about 30% second home. They had been living here full time most of the year, and many of them are putting their city houses on the market and transitioning. Some are building larger houses here. So it's a real trend that I do not believe is going to change. I think what's allowing people to change those decisions on where they live is the change in the workforce. People being able to live more, not always going to the office, live more places where they want to, and the quality of life in their daily living is changing. And you know, many people, now that they're forced to be in the same four walls, are realizing that, oh, this really isn't inspiring me or wellness. So mental wellness, I think, is a key thing that is really coming to the focus, and people really realizing they're not happy, and maybe some of the things that were always making them unhappy or depressed, it's right in front of them every day now, and they can't escape it. They can't go to the office. They can't go to many of the places that they thought they could. We are, not only is our real estate busy, but all of our wellness shops, Pilates, the spa, the gym, in increased memberships everywhere, our subscriptions to the organic farms. So it's many of the related industries and shop owners that are here. It is really picking up. Our restaurants are doing well. People are coming out. Where we've really been hurt is our Inn at Serenbe. The corporate business has disappeared. And that is probably the biggest downside that we've seen. And I think it's going to take a while for that to happen, especially in your bigger hotels and cities. So I think properties that are labeled wellness are going to be better off as this recovery starts to happen.
Thank you, Steve. I would say when we were there, I also noticed there are quite a few families. There seemed to be a lot of family, you know, things happening. It wasn't like just, you know, older baby boomers. So congratulations. And also, I would just reiterate, Steve has been very generous in hosting, you know, inviting people to come and see Serenbe, because I think that we all sense that, you know, a successful project like that, as the ones in Thailand, the ones Amy's doing, or Ingo's doing, or Jim's doing, we want all of them to be successful. That's going to help us all. We don't want there to be one that isn't successful, and we really want them to be wellness oriented, where people really have a healthy lifestyle. And I think you do, you know, I think the mental wellness is important because you do a lot with arts and crafts, and that has been a cornerstone of what you do. And I can see how that really, would you say that's a big part of?
Well, absolutely. You know, the arts lifts your spirits and speaks to you emotionally, and many times, you know, physically, the way you set the place up is connecting to one another, and then connecting to nature. And we've been building places that separate us from all of those. We aren't funding arts. We're building places that separate us from each other and from nature. And so I think this is just a real wake-up call. And Susie, you mentioned education, and one I didn't mention is our school enrollment on our private school at Serenbe has doubled over last year. They have this long waiting list and building a new campus now. So a lot of families have really made decisions to change where they live and how they're going to educate their kids.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. I want to go just real quickly to Terry, because Terry and Helen work together, and also you know, because I have an exciting announcement to make, and I know our time is going. We may not get into our little groups, but I know most of you are okay with that. So we're just going to keep going. Terry, can you contribute a little bit of your thoughts and what you've seen in the last year or so?
Sure. Thank you, Susie, and thank you all. This has been an entirely invigorating experience. I have pages of notes. I'm very excited. Let me share with you maybe what I did to kind of pivot in 2020, which I think is really directly related to the conversation we're having. I stepped back at the end of March and thought, wow, we're all living at home in our homes and communities, and nobody was talking about the impact of a global pandemic on how we felt about living at home and community. So I partnered with an architectural partner and a research collaborator, and we launched the America at Home study, where we actually went out to consumers and asked them how COVID has impacted how they feel about life at home and communities going forward. And we specifically targeted that in April and then repeated the study again in October and included GWI's 6 pillars of wellness in our study and directly asked consumers which areas of wellness were most important to them and which areas had the largest gap in their personal lives today. So the information was fascinating. And just like Helen mentioned earlier, I'm very excited to be able to take that insight and that intel and collaborate with the greater wellness community and really kind of codify and expand on what wellness real estate and wellness communities, frankly, in the primarily residential space, can mean to how we all can live a better life going forward. So this is just extremely exciting and the time is perfect. So thank you very much.
Well, Terry and Helen, you know, I love your collaborative spirit. And when Helen and I were at Serenbe, you know, I thought, boy, you know, we had a global Wellness Institute initiative on wellness real estate that Mia Karikos led for a few years. And that was during the time we did the report. But that kind of came to a close. And so, you know, I've been looking for, well, who can bring it to the next level? And so I talked with Helen, and she and Terry together have agreed to co-chair a new Global Wellness Institute initiative on wellness real estate and communities in a very collaborative way. So Helen, do you want to just speak to that for a minute? It's a brand new, it's not even up on the website yet, but I think for all of us on this call, it's a very exciting development. Helen?
Sure, and I'll share this one with Terry too, because Terry's been doing a lot of the writing on our initiative application. So we did want to leverage as much as has been done in the past with the launching of the prior initiative. So we kind of started from there and then started to think about all the things that we've learned in this exploration that we've been on, like where are all the pockets of information about wellness and how can we pool it all together? So we almost build a kit of parts from which everyone can build. And so that's kind of been the focus of that, is just really wanting to gather and synthesize, promote best practice thinking, either in developments themselves or also the people, the experts who are helping to promote wellness in communities. So we've started to put together a tentative list of potential members of the initiative. And if you're interested, please let us know. And I'll ping it over to Terry to say a little bit more.
Great. Yes. Thanks, Helen. We did exactly what Helen said. I mean, the work that Steve and others on this call led in 2018 to get to that fabulous report that Susie referenced earlier. And you haven't read it, I highly advise that you do. It really is chock full of great information and also great examples and case studies of communities doing this out of the ground, from the ground up. So we really reviewed it rigorously, the intel and the insights from that study. And we landed on the 4 key pillars that were kind of called out as potential future work in the next initiative. And we've heard these, presented at the Housing Innovation Alliance before by others from GWI, and we think it's really a good starting point. So it's really from do no harm to optimizing wellness is the first one. This is not going to be surprising to most of you. From passive to active wellness, from hardware to software. So, thinking about the built environment, but also wellness lifestyle services, whether it be spa or even medical facilities and so on from there. And then really, I think the big umbrella is from me to we, and how can we embrace collaboration and embrace best thinking from multiple areas in our world to make life better. So we are extremely excited. Susie, I was tipped off last night that you might want to announce this morning, and we're very excited to contribute and to be able to provide the actual document in the next week or two. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Terry and Helen. And I speak for all of us that, we can tell not only your enthusiasm, but your experience is going to really add a lot. And the idea is that on the Global Wellness Institute website, all of these kinds of things will be available to everyone. That's the spirit of the nonprofit GWI, where we make it available, because we think those reports and the things that you're doing, and Urban Land Institute, whatever tools there are, let's put them in one place so that you can find them, and then all of you can use them and do better and better out there. So very excited, Terry and Helen. So thank you. I'm going to go now to Stephanie Peabody and introduce you to something very new that you might not know about. Dr. Stephanie Peabody is the Executive Director of the Brain Health Initiative, and Lakewood Ranch, which is near Sarasota, Florida, is a brain healthy community. And it has to do with Mass General and Harvard, which Stephanie's part of. And so, Stephanie, tell us about this. It was new to me, and I think it's probably going to be new to some people on the call, and we want to know a little more about it. So, Stephanie, over to you.
Great, thanks, Susie. So, hello, everyone, and just a quick introduction. The Brain Health Initiative is a collaborative effort with Massachusetts General Hospital, which is a Harvard Medical School teaching hospital, to build brain healthy communities. These are communities where we purposefully develop cultures that proudly protect brain health, that promote brain performance and fight brain illness across the lifespan. So very multi-generational in our approach. We're building these cultures with the idea in mind that they can be measured, documented, and replicated kind of in a turnkey fashion, for a lack of better term, anywhere. Essentially, it's a multi-pronged approach to increase brain health and performance outcomes that enhance well-being by ultimately then by living a brain healthy lifestyle. It bridges the gap between lifespan and brain span and enhances performance across the lifespan. The Brain Health Initiative is headquartered in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, as Susie shared. And Lakewood Ranch, Florida is a 33,000 acre award-winning master plan community that sits right in the middle of Sarasota and Manatee counties. Lakewood Ranch is in the Suncoast region, and it was recently named and has been named the best-selling community for all ages in the United States. Lakewood Ranch is minutes from the Gulf Coast beaches. It's home to multiple brain healthy lifestyle sectors, including an extraordinary focus on arts and culture. It currently is home to approximately 42,000 residents and growing to a population of 100,000 within the next 15 to 20 years. So what is interesting in the question that Susie posed is that the evolution of the Brain Health Initiative, literally we had just planted our flag in November before COVID. This is after Mass General and our team looked across North America at approximately, we can never share how many, but at approximately 12 different potential regions. And we selected the Suncoast region, again, with Lakewood Ranch as our headquarters. And although we were just a few months old, literally a few months old, what is interesting is that the experience of COVID, the Brain Health Initiative was actually born out of the COVID experience. What I mean by that is that COVID helped us to solidify how the Brain Health Initiative would mobilize our messaging and its strategies, including everything from our Brain Health Scholars Program, which is a youth program with more than 60 youth from across the 2 counties, high schools, youth leaders who are really being champions of brain health, all the way to the other end of the lifespan, where we have brain health thought leaders who are helping us to create and champion the brain health campaign, a Living Brain Healthy campaign and challenge program. We have Brain Health Boost, Brain Health Thoughts, Brain Health in a Box, where we're really bringing all sectors, grocery stores, libraries, restaurants, our school systems, our homes together to create this culture of brain health. So,
So Stephanie, thank you. Thank
the Lakewood Ranch Director of Communication.
Yeah, Lakewood Ranch.
Monica Onstead, who's
we're having a little audio trouble, I think, on your end there, but I thank you for that. I think what we're hearing is that you're going to be developing this community, which is already in existence but growing, around brain health. That's the focus there, and that and I imagine the timing seems amazing given COVID. And tell us about, I saw that you did a mindful triathlon, and also that you had, you brought in what was it, somebody that does humor. Who is that?
Yes, so to support first responders and the public health personnel, the mental health personnel, we did multiple programming around focusing on how to enhance well-being. And Heidi Hanna, one of the Brain Health Initiative faculty, who I think is also on the call today, helped to coordinate and lead a focus on humor and how to use humor to boost resilience during this time of unending stress. In addition, we hosted multiple virtual brain healthy programming, such as brain healthy cooking, brain healthy fitness and wellness, mindful moments, where we brought in opportunities for meditation. And this really had an outreach to thousands, not only in the region, but well beyond. We also are really excited to share about our Mindful Triathlon. This will eventually become the signature event for the Brain Health Initiative and be able to be held in communities around the world. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you. And Stephanie, it sounds like maybe that would be something that a lot of these other communities could be part of. A mindful triathlon, and we can therefore kind of connect. Thank you, Stephanie. We look forward to following that, and I look forward to visiting, because you're not that far from me.
That's right.
So Nancy, I just want to go to you because you've been watching the chat. And by the way, whatever, and I'm sorry we didn't get into our smaller groups today, but whatever best decision you made in 2020, feel free to share it in the chat, because when we do our follow-up, we will do a link to the chat so everyone will be able to read that. So Nancy?
Thank you, Susie. I want to say that this entire conversation has felt like brain health to me. There's fascinating information, and clearly a sector that is very vibrant. I mean, there's so much going on. A number of comments came up regarding the intergenerational nature of building communities. Something that, I've lived through in COVID myself. Many people are probably had a chance to live with members of their families they had not intended, but that has been a silver lining. And Laura Powell, who's a wonderful journalist who's on the call, really, kind of summarized it, saying that it seems like intergenerational population is an important component of the entire wellness community experience. I know Steve Nygren can speak to that from the point of view of Serenbe, because there are, you have a whole program and a whole natural way that that happens. So I just, I think it's an interesting point, and it came up a number of times.
Thank you. Anybody else who we haven't heard from that might want to unmute themselves and share something that you really feel we need to all hear? Maybe even from outside of the US, because we've heard from a lot of people in the US. Just let us know, maybe raise your hand or just unmute and contribute.
Hi, Susie. This is Fran here from Mexico.
Yes.
I met you through Bonnie Baker. And,
yes. Nice to see you. Thank you. Please.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've only just been able to join this, so I'm not even sure what the what the current topic is. I mean, obviously, I'm in the wellness community real estate business here, but when you said, has anyone got anything to share with regards to what exactly?
Well,
I'm
sorry. let me just ask you quickly, since you're in Mexico, are you seeing increased interest from people in a wellness community in Mexico?
Absolutely, 100%. And because, of course, we're quite heavily amenities based, having, because we have vineyards and we've got the horse riding stables, and we've got about 10 kilometers of trails and 300 on 300 acres here. And we're very much about having a holistic community. And we've noticed a huge uptick of interest coming from, particularly from the larger urban areas. Mexico City. The challenge is that because Mexico City's on red alert, as is San Miguel de Allende, where we're based in the center of the country. The city fathers of San Miguel aren't welcoming as per normal so many incoming tourists, and we have relied on the tourism business coming through our restaurants here on the property for them to then garner the interest in buying real estate here. But we are noticing that people are very interested in purchasing property here from Mexico City in particular.
And what is the name of your development?
It's called Valle de los Senderos.
Okay, very good. Maybe you can put that in the chat. As we wind up, I want to end on a note with Nancy to tell us just quickly, and I want to thank everyone for being on the call. Let's continue this. We will have another spotlight on real estate and communities. We have initiatives starting, and but Nancy, tell us about tomorrow.
Yes.
And next week, and we'll end with that.
Tomorrow is the Wellness Masterclass featuring Dr. Richard Carmona, and we are going to talk about the power of wellness in its impact on politics and the pandemic and much more. He's the 17th U.S. Surgeon General, a very big proponent of wellness, very involved with everything we do. I urge you to join. Same time, 10 a.m. Eastern, and you can sign up for that if you haven't already, and I hope you do. And next week, Tuesday, 1 week from today, is our Global Wellness Press event, Research and Trends, and that is a virtual event. I urge you all to join. It is where we release our trends report. We have an update from our researchers and a lot of other very interesting things. It's a 3-hour event, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, next Tuesday. Please join us. You will not be sorry you did.
And Nancy's very busy producing that in her free time. So Wendy, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Well, no, you can't do that. You all have to unmute yourselves, but I wanted to just allow you a chance to unmute yourself and say goodbye. Thank you. And you can say goodbye also in the chat. And I just want to thank you for being here. And I am excited about wellness, real estate, and communities. So thank you for being here. And thank you to the people who enlightened us today. So thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye. Bye. Helen, it's nice to see you without a mask.
You too.